So we left off in the last video talking about the positive consequences of stress, and that again is something that doesn't last over time, but is used to really kind of push ourselves to be able to complete a task or to complete an activity. I think about high performance athletes. That is again this sense of performance arousal that allows us to be able to complete that task or activity, hopefully with some success, but essentially we stress can be a positive to help us to get things done or to be able to complete tasks or to complete an activity, etc. Oops. The stages of stress prevention. So, as an employer, we kind of have to think about where is the stress happening at what level, and what are some things that employers can do. So this chart really looks at a framework for preventative stress. So at the first level, that primary prevention, um, in focusing on organizational stressors. So how do we think of, as an employer, we can prevent stress at an organizational level, or in terms of organizational stressors. So reduced work demands potentially, increased control or giving employees some say over what the work they do, have flexibility in your work, making sure that there's fairness, there's transparency. Again, there's a whole host of potential things as an organization you can do to help prevent the stress of your employees. Um, Stress responses in terms of the focus is a secondary prevention, so influencing the reaction to stressful events, so encouraging employees to seek out support or to seek out the things that they need versus being threatened by whatever that stressor may be. So having that open door opportunity for employees to be able to come to you or to have some supports in place in the workplace. And again, going back to giving employees more control and also more support. Uh, Again, this is when stress is happening. So this is kind of, there's potentially a stressful event or a stressful event that's happening. And we want to think as an employer, how do we support our employees in um, managing that or reacting to that? And that's really that secondary prevention. The tertiary prevention really is when we have employees who are in distress, that the event has happened, they have continued stress, we then need to support them. So that's when we see things coming into play like EAP. EAP is an employee assistance program, as an example, where you have access, employees would have access to free counseling supports through that program as part of their job, as part of their employment. Perhaps time off may be necessary, maybe adjusting some of the work demands, maybe changing, who the person is working with. Perhaps that's one of the stressors, etc. So again, these are kind of the levels of preventative stress, from the kind of the primary thing to prevent stress, then perhaps how do we support employees in terms of how they react to the stressful event, and then when employees actually are in distress, what are the things we need to have in place or things we can do to assist with that. This is a little diagram because when we think about individual stress prevention, these are always things we hear and see as ways to help offset. Exercise, we always hear that. If you're stressed out, a lot of people do suggest that exercise is a big support of decreasing stress. So even just this as simple as going for a walk or getting fresh air. But nonetheless, all of these things, our diet, our exercise, when it says leisure, I think about, are we taking time for ourselves? Are we spending enough time with family? I think about that work-life balance piece. So, and positive thinking is another one that I think that's probably one that we all can be challenged on, in terms of instead of negative thinking or negative self-talk, which, I think all of us do. I know I'm guilty of it, and maybe sometimes too much, and sometimes not enough. But nonetheless, positive thinking is sometimes something we have to train our brain to do. and thinking about ways of how we can work to be more positive in our thinking about ourselves and perhaps the work we do. Um, and then there's lots of different suggestions around how you can potentially do that. And then counseling in general is also a really great support. And as in terms of being a student and or employees who have EAP or benefits, having access to free counseling is wonderful. And also, employers who have workplace benefits that include things like massage or naturopath, or the ability to be able to access service providers to help offset perhaps things that are causing stress, to help us to relax, and to help us to have that better work-life balance piece. This last piece is a video it's a TED Talk, Kelly McGonigal, social psychologist, and she's talking about how to make stress your friend, and how stress can, if we look at it in the right way and use it in the right way, it can be beneficial, and it can help us to be either more creative or more efficient or more effective. But it's an interesting talk. I would recommend taking a look at it. But I won't play it for this video, but you can certainly access it. The PowerPoint slide is inside our Brightspace, under that Unit 6 under Workplace Wellness, and you can access it there. Okay, we will talk to you tomorrow in class. I will go over the assignment, or if you want to take a look at the assignment. Whoops, sorry. My screen just doesn't want to turn off there. There we go. If you want to take a look at the assignment before tomorrow, that's probably a good idea as well. Just gonna open that up. Again, I have some options here for you. You can work with another person if you would like. I'm fine with that. You're basically going to be creating one of 3 possible documents, or video. Basically, I'm asking you to create a wellness plan as an employer. So you're going to pretend that you are an employer and you are providing information to your employees around workplace wellness. So you have an option to create either a wellness plan, creating a brochure or a pamphlet, or creating a wellness video. I also have examples of each down below to take a look at. But let's say you decide to do a pamphlet as an employer, and even if you also wanted to do, I don't really have that there, but brochure or pamphlet, or maybe you're going to put together a PowerPoint slide that you're going to share with employees. I mean, that I would be okay with that too, but maybe have a little fun if you want to be creative. Pamphlets or handouts or flyers are always good too, or an infographic would also be something that you could add here. I'm going to put that in here because I feel like I meant to do that before and I hadn't. So again, just get creative in terms of how you might want to share that. Oh, sorry. How you might want to share that with your employees. Pardon me. I'm just going to put that there. Or PowerPoint. I think that's a good option, actually. Update that. So below, it basically takes you through what is required in the submission. You are going to include what are the effects of stress. You're going to include at least 5 strategies for individuals to manage stress, clearly describe the strategies. At least 5 strategies to help individuals with time management, clearly describe the strategies. At least 5 strategies organizations should consider supporting stress management in the workplace, which we just talked about a few of those. Also in the overview or the introduction to the workplace wellness link inside of our Brightspace, there is also a lot of good information that I have there, and some links to some time management options or ideas of free resources that you can use to support time management. But essentially, this is what should be included in the way in which the submission. So again, I just have, if you have a plan or a brochure, it's most likely going to be 2 or 3 pages. A video perhaps is going to be it could be anywhere up to 6 minutes, because again, this is a fair bit of information. And then things to include. And also remember to include your references as well, as part of that submission. Okay, and there's also a rubric there as well for you to take a look at. So again, if you have questions, bring them along tomorrow. If not, when we come together tomorrow, we'll have an opportunity to begin this assignment, and then perhaps we can, I think I'll leave it till tomorrow. We'll chat about kind of a due date, because I think if we have a couple of hours tomorrow, that could be beneficial, but I'm okay with pushing it to perhaps Monday or Tuesday. Monday, we're going to start, Monday, we're actually going to cover and talk about motivation. So that's our next unit that we're going to be looking at, and we'll look at a couple theories around motivation. Yeah, that's what's coming up next. Okay, thanks, ladies.